What's up, pod pals? It's your buddy Adam. You are listening to Let's Talk About Your Podcast, where I talk about my best podcast launch tips. If you have been podcastinating and you are wondering, how do I launch a podcast? How do I start this podcast show? If you're looking for some podcast launch tips, you are in the right place, my friend. Today, we are talking about 2 podcasting newbie mistakes I'm seeing a lot of newer podcasters make as they launch. These are easy fixes, and they will simplify things, and they will serve you down the road in a big way. Do I have your interest yet, pod pals? All right, let's dive in. The first podcasting newbie mistake that I want to cover is not numbering your episodes. All right, now a few months back, Apple put out a thing like, don't number your episodes because we're going to do something within Apple Podcasts, blah, 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 blah. And they kind of put the scare into podcasters like, oh, if you do number your episodes, we're going to kind of screw you with the algorithm. You're not going to get as many downloads. Now, nothing has happened with that. Like, it's not even an issue. So we don't need to worry about that. I will always number my episodes. So what I mean is in the episode title, it will be like, 031, 032, 100, and then the episode title. Now, the reason we want to number our episodes is because, like, let's say I come on your show, and let's say I'm a much bigger deal than I am. Let's say I'm world famous. All right. I'm the Will Ferrell of podcasting, and I'm world famous. I've got millions of followers. I come on your show, and then, it's episode, 50 something. But that's not in the title. And you're like, and now you're on episode 150, and you want to reference back and say, oh, you got to listen to this episode with Adam. Like, he's world famous and you need to check out this episode. And you say it's episode 50 or whatever. If your episodes aren't numbered, then people are going to have a hell of a hard time finding that. If you have hundreds of episodes and this one is buried in there somewhere, you cannot search for specific names or terms once you get into like an Apple Podcast feed. If you go to my Apple Podcast feed for the show, you can't search for guests that I've had on. All right. You have zero reference. You're going to have to scroll through all of them. And I hate it when I've got podcasts that I listen to and they're like, go back to my interview with so-and-so, and they've got 400 episodes. I'm not going to take the time to scroll through and look for all of them. And I can't search on like Google and find it very easily either. So if you're like, hey, it's episode 52, I can scroll through and find episode 52 right away. All right. Now, this becomes even more important if you speak on Clubhouse, if you speak on virtual stages, on live stages. Each episode is an asset, is a resource. If you're active in other Facebook groups, like, these are little nuggets of your knowledge that you have built. This is your Rolodex where you can drop dimes on people when you're interacting. So if you're in a Facebook group and a certain topic thread comes up, you can be like, oh, this is great. I've got a podcast episode, or here are my thoughts, da, 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 da. If you want a bigger breakdown, I spent 30 minutes deep diving on this on my show. It's episode number 32. DM me if you want the link. And people will DM you, and you drop the link, or you drop the link if it's allowed in that Facebook group. I do this all the time in virtual summits. I'm in the chat. I'm in the webinar chat, and people are covering certain things. I'm like, oh, this is such a great topic. Here's what I think. I actually did a full episode on it. Check it out. It's episode number 47. And people can go right to that. So this is huge for findability for your content. Otherwise, you're creating a barrier that doesn't need to be created of trying to search through all of your stuff. Like, you should start a show with the mindset of you're going to have hundreds, if not thousands of episodes. So how in the world are people going to find it if they aren't numbered? All right. So create an amazing, easy to find resource by numbering your episodes. I like the 3-digit number. So when you're first starting out, it'd be like 000, 001, but that really doesn't make any difference. That's just the way my mind works. Because I always have a goal of doing at least 100 episodes. So that's the way I put that out there. Like, I've got to fill all 3 boxes. No matter what, like this show, it will get to 100 episodes. My new health show, Low Carb Hustle, it will get to 100 episodes. Do or die, it's going to happen. I've got already over 200 episodes of Podcasting Business School. My previous health show had 375 episodes. So I'm always in that triple digit mode. All right, enough about that. Number those episodes. Don't make that newbie podcaster mistake. The second newbie podcaster mistake that I hate seeing is too many CTAs. A CTA is a call to action, where we get all fired up and we're launching, and it's like, hit that subscribe button, leave me a rating and review, share it out on Instagram, share it out on Facebook, hit me up on Pinterest, write my grandma a letter, and go to my website and write a review over there. Don't forget Amazon and Google and then blah blah blah. And then I've got a giveaway, and then here's my lead magnet, and here's what I sell. There's like 29 calls to action, and people will do 0 of them. So this was a huge mistake I made early on. What I would really recommend as you launch, and when I launch people with my podcast launch blueprint, our main focus is community building. It's like just getting the mojo working. So initially, all we're asking people to do, hit the subscribe button. I just want you to get into the show. Podcast listeners know the drill. If they like it, they'll share it. All right. So as you initially get going, I would say first 4 episodes, especially, hey, if you like this, hit that subscribe button. That's the only CTA I would do. Like in your intro, in your outro, during the show, hit that subscribe button. I'll be here every week. We're going to go on this journey together and just gain their trust. Before you ask them to go and tell it to somebody else or anything, just hit that subscribe button. First 4 episodes especially. I like to focus in on one call to action per episode. That is intro. That is anything mentioned during the show. That is outro. All right. Same call to action. One. I want to mention it 3 times. Intro, during the show, outro. You'll find that with this show, with these episodes that I'm doing on podcast launch tips. I'm talking about podcast launch blueprint, intro. I'll mention it at some point here in the next few minutes, I'm sure. And then I'll mention the outro. That's all I'm talking about. All right. So when you first launch, I want that subscribe button. The next call to action for maybe the next 4 episodes, or I like to go 1 to 2 months. Like let people get exposed to your call to action. I don't like to switch them every single episode. Some people do that. That's to each their own. But I really like the idea of 4 episodes, 1 call to action, maybe shift it 4 episodes or 8 episodes, another call to action. So 1 to 2 months if you're doing an episode a week with a singular call to action. All right. So that next phase of call to action would be some sort of community building lead magnet. Like, all right, we got them subscribed to our show. Let's get them on our email list and let's start interacting. Or maybe you do like some sort of giveaway or share it out thing. All right. So those would be the number 2A and number 2B call to action that I would look at. So first one, just subscribe for 4 weeks. That's all we're worried about. Just subscribe to the dang show. Let's get you plugged in to my world. Let me show you what I can do. Then we start asking, hey, come and join me for my when I do podcasting business school, I've got my Pod Pal Zoom party. And at some point I may use that as a CTA for this show because it's awesome. But right now on this show, we're just focused on getting people launched. So my CTA is my podcast launch blueprint because that's the most badass way to launch your show with a badass, highly experienced podcaster like myself. So go to the main website, podcastingbusiness.school, and check it all out. Check it out, Pod Pal. So those are 2 newbie podcaster mistakes that I do not want you to make. Not numbering episodes, create a Rolodex, create a resource for your listeners that you can link drop whenever it's handy. And that's really going to serve you and pull people into your world. And then watch out on those CTAs. Give me one singular, hit that subscribe button, CTA for 4 episodes. Then we might think about doing a share it out or some sort of a come into my community newsletter building lead magnet. All right. That's what I got for you in this episode. I hope this has served you. If you're looking to launch that podcast and stop podcrastinating, hit up the podcast launch blueprint on my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. And with that, my pod pals, I will send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you on the next episode.